Good morning, good morning. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. You know what it is, folks. Good morning to you. Waking up this morning, getting ready for work, getting ready to embark my journey into the wonderful city of Philadelphia. I do say that with kind of half sarcasm, half truth. Philly's always been a place where growing up I visited many times. As you guys can see, we're just a little bit past sunrise this morning. No, folks, I don't live in a town that's desolate. It's just actually the children are off today. So you'll see when the children are off, the roads are quite clear Monday through Friday. And I couldn't be happier. I had a great weekend, a great weekend. Going back to Philly, I will say Philadelphia was a place that I frequented. I ran in such things as the Penn Relays. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. Both in high school and college, I've done that. It's an international event. I hope to see my children there one day if they so choose to, but that would be a nice kind of, I could say, I don't know how to say it that well, but you know, seeing your children play or compete in the same place that you have once competed yourself, especially since my children are born from the West Coast, it's kind of a surreal feeling. You know, I think for the younger people in my audience, you kind of have to look at your life, your 20s, like being in college or being in high school. You know, the 4 years when you're a freshman in high school, you know, high school seems like this long, arduous thing, and senior year looks like it's so far off that, you know, it's out of reach, out of touch, your first day being in high school. And in that perspective, there is some truth in that. It really is. You think about it. But when you become a senior and you start to look back on time, you see that how quickly it went. You see how fast it went. And the same thing bodes true for college, unless you're taking a master's and being a college student. Some of the people who graduated college might understand exactly what I mean. They have a master's degree in going to college. But I say that in the sense of when you start getting old enough, when you live long enough, you start to look back on time, and time has a different perspective for you when you're looking at things on the back end. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be, you know, elderly and decrepit in order to have a hindsight 2020 look on life. But when you get to, I think by the time you get to a senior year, by the time you're 18, you have the ability to start peering back and looking back over maybe your childhood, the time you spent in high school, your freshman year. And when you really think about it, it's the shortest amount of time that a child has to grow into a young adult. Just 4 years to get you prepped for that. You know, you get 5 years until you get 2 years from birth to knowing how to walk. But in that time, 4 years, you pretty much have to be from 14 to 18. You know, and when I say that, I mean relatively. I'm not going to be very specific. But in that time, you're now perceived as the young adult able to enter into the adult world to do adult level things outside of consumption of alcohol, correct? And that much is going to bode true, is that you have you're basically going to be in the last 4 phases of the last phase you'll be at in the rest of your life. You know, freshman year, sophomore, junior. See, when you're 18, you're considered a legal adult, which you'll never be a child again. You think about that concept right there for a moment. You're allowed to vote, you're allowed to serve in the military, you're allowed to have credit cards, you're allowed to pretty much operate in near all capacity of what a actual 7-year-old adult can do, 50-year-old adult can do. Again, the only limiter is the consumption of alcohol. And maybe some other, you know, loan, things like that. But for the most part, you're able to operate in 100% capacity of every adult in the general public of the United States. That adult accessibility, you have your children at 18 have 100% they have legal access to utilize all functions and avenues, including debt, financial lending, business development. There are no limitations now for them other than the preparation, lack thereof, or full preparation that you have instilled in them as an adult. And you might be saying, well, hey, Phil, where are you going at? Where are you going with this? And you might have looked back on my video yesterday or a few days ago where the video was, guess who's joining Ancestry Lands? And that's a video of my daughter, Penelope, starting to enter into the first levels or entry level of the business that I own. Currently, right now, she does accounts receivables. You can look back at that video. That is the first day that I hired her. Although that video will post it out a little bit later, but I waited on that video to make sure she could function in the job and she could do the capacity, as it's expected. And that's one of the reasons why I held on to that video and waited to release it much later, because I wanted to make sure that the video wasn't, one of these hype videos where people talk about things and they really don't do it. But Ancestry Lands is a channel that, yes, we sell you real estate. Yes, we talk about mindset. Yes, we interview people. Yes, we do, I do just talking, like a talking podcast, if you will, a broadcast. Yes, I do these driving videos. And the reason being is that you're seeing who a person is in everyday America. I'm not some guy sitting in a published studio with millions of followers because I have a professional name or a celebrity name. I'm driving to work just like you are. I have children going to school just like you are. At any point that you watch that video, or any one of the videos on Ancestry Lands, you can see someone that you relate to. You can see a father. You can see a husband. You can see a man struggling to climb to the top, to be of value not only to himself, but to his family and his community at large. And let me add also that a man who's trying to do something to give a different representative or representation of what I feel is misrepresented in black culture and the African American community, that every time the news promotes at least what I identify as my people, African Americans at large on a whole, I always see them promoting the worst of us. We're always used as the villain. Look at this guy right here. Look at this, man. Now, instead of letting this big gargantuan truck here with all this equipment in front, with all this room, instead of getting over to the left, again, another person who just is an idiot, no care for anyone themselves, they would rather just speed up. You have all this real estate here on this left side of this lane, and instead of getting over, they won't. Just for what? Because you're just not going to let them in. And again, folks, that's about perspective. When you see me driving and you see me pointing out these driver behaviors, you got to realize your children are going to drive on a road with people like this. And sometimes children do not think forward long enough, as like I said, they might have the ability to peer back just a little bit. And again, depending on how reflective they are, that could also show you a glimmer of, let's see who this is. Oh, he's in there talking with his friend. I just passed by these idiots. And I was going to say is that if your children are not that reflective, if you have a child that does not reflect on their actions, and when I say child, I'm talking about young adults to little children. Even if a little children can, their kids know they have the ability to be trained or taught how to reflect back on their actions, to look at mistakes made. And the reason why you know this is that even with a baby, my younger son, Percival, shout out to you, buddy. I love you. I know you'll see this video later on and stuff like that, but I'm still putting you in the video now, bud. He's only 16 months old, but he's walking now. And initially when children walk, they stumble and fall over everything. They don't know if they'll step in front of anything and trip over everything in front of them. And after a while, when the baby's done initially walking, you will see the baby start to become aware of their surroundings. They become aware of things that they trip over, that are in their way. They become aware of obstacles. And And if you look a little bit, like at 16 months, you'll start seeing a baby become aware of things called object permanence. It's actually a developmental milestone. It's called object permanence. You can look it up. I'm a nurse. I do this. I've been doing this. I've done pediatrics for well over a decade. Worked at Phoenix Children's Hospital, third largest hospital in America. Children's Hospital in America, let me be correct. And I know what the heck I'm talking about. It's called object permanence. You know, a lot of times when you see a baby walking, they do not understand that that thing in front of them is going to trip them up, or they don't. If you take an object away, they think it just disappeared. That's called object permanence. When they become aware that the object is still there, even though it's not present in their initial sight. And you might see it that a baby might walk around something and they might come back and they may not see it in their way, but they remember that it was in their way before. That's called object permanence. So again, I say to you is that even younger children, even into young adults, their ability to reflect on will also give you light of how they project on to their forward actions. And this is where you hear things talking about younger people's brain development. Uh-oh, here come 12. Uh-oh, where they going? Who they picking up? Uh-oh. There go 12. 12 is the police for anyone who is not in now see, I'm gonna look at this person right here. Now, if I'm looking, that tire looks like it's about to go out. Bro, you need to get over, man. That guy right there, man, they tire is about to go out, man. I tried. They got tents so dark, it looks like The Wraith, the movie The Wraith. So he's driving with his hazards on instead of pulling over to an optimal area. I guess they got to go to work. They're going to get to work any which way. They be driving back with that on too, any which way. So if they cannot project far enough to understand when they do something, the outcome and the projection, and I apologize for the sunlight coming up, but it is sunrise on the early morning commute to Philadelphia. If they cannot project that far out, then they don't have the understanding of where their actions are now today, how it's going to affect them years later. You know, you see this all the time when kids get in problems with the law very young. They don't understand how that's going to, you know, impact them later on in life. And when you're seeing with, you know, what I'm doing with my daughter is I'm trying to expose her to a business idea, not so that way she can do the business. Everybody always is quick to tell you how your kids will never, you know, they may not always do what you want them to do. But a lot of times as parents, our idea of training them from one generation to the next, at least in this form with Ancestry Lands, is the fact that she's going to learn the mechanisms on how to operate and or assist a potential partner, a spouse, a friend, a colleague, in the same way that I've hired people for my immediate community, my surroundings. You've seen Eric Kennedy. I've hired my cousins. I've hired family members or co-workers, families. You pull from your surroundings. And the more that people can offer you a skill, you don't need a degree for that. A lot of things that I use in my company, I've never needed a degree for. So again, you can train your children in a way that you're projecting their future, so that way they have the skills and they have the knowledge of how to operate things. You know, like if you're in construction, if you do electrical, plumbing, heating, HVAC, your children have the ability to learn from you. You do not need to pay thousands of dollars to learn knowledge which has traditionally been passed down for thousands of years by a master worker and an apprentice. Well, it's the same relative level of a parent and a child. You know, you're not just here to raise them to get them out of the house at 18. You're trying to teach, you're trying to imprint your knowledge to be passed down, and that amalgamation of all the knowledge, you know, ascertained generation to generation. This is where folklore comes from, mythology, religion. All of this is oral tradition passed down, and you have the ability, you have actually the responsibility to do that as a parent. And you can also see in society those who have failed to do that and where their children lie. You can see that in single parents, single mothers to be precise. The number of incarcerated children being raised in a home without a father. You can see in the breakdown of society that individuals on a whole are not becoming more respectful. The actual knowledge ascertaining is not better. The reading levels are not better outside of affluent societies. And again, I apologize for the sun. Hey, but we're in the land of the East, baby. You can't be watching this video and not understanding that I live in the land of the East where, you know, that's where the sun rises. I brought you in Cali. Videos have been in California where the sun always set. But I'm always going to take you coast to coast. So again, where I was leaving off at is that they have the ability to be able to be an asset or a value, and the ability to have some tangible skills that they can utilize outside of just their immediate degree. Because you got some people that they're nurses, they can only do nursing. They never thought about teaching a CPR class. They've never teachers that they only teach in a classroom, but they're not private tutors. Again, it's the limitations that people place on themselves in society. And we don't need to do that as parents, and you're seeing me not do that, and you don't see me do that even in these broadcasts, my video styles, my format, my social media content, the way I operate and do business. You can't be limited in this world of digital information. I had an interesting conversation with Don Coombs. Yep, that Don Coombs, you've seen him on many of the videos. It's videos about agility. I mean, there should be no question of who Don Coombs is when I mention that name. And we were talking about, you know, the advantage of coaching in your children's sports leagues. You know, my children are playing softball and baseball, and being an assistant coach, you know, that actually helps me to get a little bit higher connected with the other coaches and people who may be in business as well. And not only that, it gives me the opportunity to expand my network and find people who may be useful to the group on a whole. People who, you know, again, you might meet somebody that's an orthopedic surgeon, like I have on my kids' field trips to the American Museum of the Museum of American History in Philadelphia. And these conversations that you meet with people, they become part of your social network, even if they're not very, you know, closely associated, but you know of them. You have conversations and you take the opportunity to meet and learn about people. I always ask more questions than I give answers whenever I meet new people, because I want to show them that I'm intrigued about learning about them. If you give people an opportunity to talk and you have the ability to listen, you'll find out a great deal about a person, and you'll find things that you might find a commonality, or other things that you share, or someone else that shares the same things that you might, same interests that you may have, or another person. Such as the fact that my father is you know, he's pretty much an all-purpose manager. He works at the carts at a golf course down in Florida, but he also does a lot of handiwork. And again, you know, my father being a person that works at a golf course, you know, that helps me to have a conversation with people who may golf. I don't golf. It's not because I don't like golf, and it's just I don't have the time. But when I was talking to Don Coombs, it's about the ability to be on, he has a business, they're doing STEM programs, they're doing, you know, aerospace, you know, things like that. They're doing aerospace systems and defense. They're so high up, I can't even tell you what they're doing, but they're doing such high-level stuff in life that I admire them, and I bring you people who are doing that so you can see the people who are on the front lines trying to change not only the future, but trying to change the community at large. And I shout out, salute to Mr. and Mrs. Coombs for that notion and allowing me to be able to be in their circle. But again, when I was talking to him, it's about the ability to utilize, you know, leverage. When I say leverage your children, it's leverage your ability to be present in their life. For one, you're going to spend more time with your children being their coach, instead of just dropping them off at practice and leaving them to their own devices. Second, you get to have the advantage of analyzing their potential friends groups, people in that circle, people that they're going to interact with, to see which families, you know, which people you need to stay away from, which people you need to be concerned about, and which people you need to have your friends hang around with more. It gives you a tactical advantage in that way. It also allows you to connect and create a bigger resource pool of your network environment because of the other parents who see you coaching. You're going to know. I know more parents at my kids' school because I was coaching their softball and baseball, and this goes for any sport. As long as it's in your immediate area where your children are going to go to school and they're interacting and playing with teammates, it's going to serve that exact purpose. And the school people know me because I'm Coach Davis. So again, that visibility there. Now, when you add that to becoming a business owner, when you walk around and people know you for coaching and you have a business that you want to be known, when you go to speak on a business, people will listen. And that's exactly what we had that conversation about. And people see you, they're going to recognize you. So when you have these business conversations or you tell people about that you own a business, they're going to be way less guarded than they are if you walk up trying to talk to them about, you know, and I mean, just imagine this, right? You're at your kid's softball game or baseball game or whatever sport they play. You got another person, you're there trying to enjoy your kid, and you got another person that you just met, don't really know, not really close with, and they're talking to you about this business they own. How interested are you going to be in listening to that when you're there watching your kid and socializing with other people? Probably not. But when you know this person, you're going to sit around, coalesce, and you're going to have small talk, and you can drop these seeds of your business performance, what you're doing in your business, and it's an opportunity for you to network, not just pitch them your business, but pitch them about what's going on in your life. So you plant these seeds of seeing how can they be useful to you and your group. And I always feel like people for a business go into a couple of categories, and again, I apologize for the sun here, is that when people, they're either going to go into not useful, meaning that they don't have an immediate use, could be of use, meaning that, you know, someone that's an orthopedic surgeon may not be immediately useful, but the fact that they have access to doctors may be useful to me more in my ability to sell insurance than it is to talk about land. And other people have immediate use, meaning that there is some immediate benefit to you connecting with this person. But all of those contacts are useful. They go into the useful pile. Because the people who are not the immediate use or the least useful are also people who actually can be of use through you spreading word of mouth about what you're doing, your ability to bring your brand to the forefront. And that's what I was talking about in my other videos about exposure, exposing yourself. But again, a lot of times people like to hide behind these faceless companies. And again, people want to see who the owner is. People want to get to know who an owner is of a business. People want to know who's the face behind a brand, behind a name. And a lot of people who are business owners, they're scared to put their face in front of their companies. And again, when you're not able to do that, that's the same as a person who doesn't eat their own pizzas that they make. You know, that's like the lady from Popeyes never eaten chicken. She's a vegetarian. How much do you trust a vegetarian to cook your meat? I don't know. And it's not an assault on vegetarians, but it's the same as that a person who doesn't eat meat won't know the profile of how a meat should taste. I don't trust that person to cook my chicken. I want a person that's a meat eater. So I say that, folks. This is the lovely city of Philadelphia here, right over here by the Amtrak train station. See all those trains over there? To downtown Philadelphia, right by Drexel University, folks. University of Penn Hospital, very big, internationally known hospital, United States. You'll always find me where, again, Drexel University, world-class academics, real-world experience. Not a plug, just information that's there. And what I'm saying to you folks is that, again, these videos are designed at helping you to expand your environment, expand your network. And the final part of this is when I talked to Don Coombs, he was able to take my advice and see what I'm doing, and he trusted that advice. You know why? Because he's watching me show up and walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And that's where I'm going to leave you at in this video, folks, is that you got to see people who are walking and leading in the ways of their example, not just their message. Because you got a lot, if you look on YouTube, you got a lot of people with messages, man. You got people talking about everything from what other people talk about, other people. But again, they're not walking the walk. You know, one reason why we respect Cat Williams is because we've seen him walk the walk. We've seen him fund himself. We've seen him, you know, he's got all the rights and owns all his, look at this person go right through a red light. The state of Philadelphia, any police that need to use this video as video evidence has my permission. For any traffic violations or any accidents, you have full autonomy to use this video as evidence for people doing illegal activities, okay? I am a civilian. I am not a gang member. So if it's caught on camera, believe me, it will be submitted to the police. Just want to say that, folks. But again, when I say this, I mean that is that you got to have people who are leading by example. Well, that's what we do not have anymore. Leaders who lead by example. Long gone are the days of, Martin, don't you cross that street and that green light's there. Sorry, buddy, I got to get in front of you, man. We want people who are leading by example. Who have the practice or the how can I say this? They have the examples by which we should follow because they're doing it in life. I see all these videos talking about you can hire your kids, but I don't see videos of people actually hiring their kids. So I say to you folks, again, lead by example. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Don't forget, folks, you're either going to be owned this property or you're going to own some property. Remember, the folks, to buy my book on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt, A Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing by yours truly, Philip Davis. I'm going to go in here to work, try to save some lives, go home, do my real estate stuff, and lastly, spend some time with my family. Not necessarily all in that order. Phil Davis, folks, I'm out.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you'll gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.